Hello, it's Leanne Peters here. I'm from templeofbalance.com.au, Temple of Balance on Facebook and Temple of Balance on YouTube. And I'm here to answer a question that's come in because it's my Temple of Balance's 18th birthday. Well, we're having our party today. The birthday was on Saturday. But nonetheless, it's all about Temple of Balance today. So thank you for joining me. I did stream a live video earlier today on my Facebook page if you missed it and if you're interested. And it's about Temple of Balance. So I talked about why I started, how I maintained it, the highs and the lows and those sorts of things. So that's about Temple of Balance, a video I streamed a few hours ago on my Facebook page, Temple of Balance. I've also been sharing with some people all day, every 2 hours for an hour. So we've been connecting, we've been drumming, healing time, done a guided meditation. We've just finished our do-it-yourself reading, and we've got one more activity to go for our birthday, so that'll be happening in about an hour. So I've been really enjoying spending time with these people who've been connecting, and we've been doing a lot of stuff around birthing today. So intense stuff. But I have a question that's come in from one of you, and the question is, how do I develop my psychic senses so I know what I need to do in my everyday life? And I thought this is a good one to do a video around our psychic senses. Now, I have done some e-courses, or I've got an e-course on my website, Psychic Development e-course, that dives into this sort of stuff as well. But I do want to touch on this now for the next 15 minutes or so. So first of all, so how do I develop my senses so they can help me in my everyday life? The first thing to explore is, what are your senses? In other words, how does your intuition speak to you? So your intuition, to me, your intuition, or our intuition, is the voice of our psychic senses, or our senses in the case of this question. So our ability to sense subtle energy speaks to us through our intuition. And the way we connect and the way we sense energy is different between us all, but there are also similarities. And the way we sense energy is the way our intuition speaks to us. So when you are trying to figure out what is your intuition, then also another way of looking at that might be, what are my senses, or what are my psychic senses? So you've typically got one main psychic sense of 5. There are 5 main psychic senses. So one of those, and these are in no particular order because there's none better than the other, they're just senses. It's like our normal physical senses of touch, taste, sight, and hear and smell. They're all equally important. They give us, all these abilities to sense through our senses, our physical senses, give us information. So on a higher level, on a more abstract level, less physical, more spiritual levels, we also have senses where we sense energy, or we sense subtle energy. So it could be when we walk into a room and we sense, there's just been an argument, or there's some tension in the air. Or we walk into like a hospital or a very crowded area, and we might get this overwhelming sense of something that we're trying to figure out. So it's those senses that are more subtle than our physical senses. So we have 5 main psychic senses, and in no particular order. We have clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. So this is seeing energy with our eyes, or in our third eye. We have clear feeling, which is clairsentience. And this is when we feel energy. We feel it in our body. This is the energy of the empath. And usually people who are empathic are very sensitive in the stomach area, can feel sick if something's happening that feels a bit that we hear or that we're picking up. It can make us feel quite sick, quite physically sick in the belly. So we need to really protect ourselves as a clairsentient if you're an empath. We have clear hearing, which is clairaudience. And this is when we hear energy, and we might hear it as whispers in our ears, or we have a question that we think, and then the answer immediately drops in, and we didn't even know the answer, but it almost comes instantly, and it pops in as a thought in our mind. So that's clairaudience. It can make us feel like we're going crazy when we have all these things and energies and beings sometimes talking in our head, or all these thoughts that are happening in our head as well. Another, the fourth, which is again in no particular order, psychic sense is claircognizance, which is clear knowing. And this is a gut feeling where we just know what's going to happen. We're just thinking about this person that we haven't seen for years, and they call, or we bump into them, or we have this gut feeling that I need to do something, or I need to call this person, and it's just a gut feeling. We can't explain why or how that we know, but we just know. It's a gut feeling. So that's claircognizance. And then the other one is clairaudience, clairvoyance, and the other one is smell, which I don't know the name of actually. Claire something. It's got a weird name, but it's smell. It's where you can smell energy. You know, sometimes you get this scent of like a cigar or roses or something, and it could be like a loved one in spirit around you. Some people have that as their main psychic sense, where they smell the energy. So they're quite sensitive in the smell area. So that's another one of the senses. So once you understand what your main sense is, your main psychic sense, then you can use that to help you in your everyday life. You can't use your intuition or your senses in your everyday life to help you that well if you don't know what they are. So I find it helpful to know and understand the way I sense energy, or how my intuition speaks to me first. So when I know how my intuition speaks to me and what my main psychic sense or senses are, we have one main one usually, and then the others develop as well. If we develop that main one and we accept that, then the others develop as well. And I talked a bit about that in this morning's video a few hours ago. So then that becomes the voice of our intuition. So when we know how our intuition speaks to us, then we can start applying it in our everyday life. So then it becomes like what I often talk about at Temple of Balance, as something that can help you in your everyday life, hopefully, not just something you do in meditation class or when you're doing spiritual things. Because when you're in meditation class or you're doing spiritual things, you sort of activate your intuition, and then you go back to your everyday life and you kind of put your intuition in the background. So what I'm really passionate about, and have been for years, is trying to bring my intuition into my everyday life. So it means paying more attention to the subtle energies in your everyday things that you do, from choosing what you're going to eat, to going places, or connecting with people that you might be connecting with. I think a lot of it too is governed by our body. I think our body is really a highly sensitive, finely tuned instrument, and our body is also very in alignment with our intuition or our instincts. So I tend to really listen to my body all the time, but especially when I'm working or marrying my intuition and how that can help me in my everyday life. So I think one of the ways to develop that connection, how your intuition can help you in your everyday life, is through listening to your body. So your body will tell you if you feel ill, and you suddenly feel ill and you just had somewhere to be and you can't be there now, then you have to trust that your body is stopping you from going for some reason. Maybe you weren't going to go to something because you were feeling ill, and then suddenly you feel fantastic. And so then your intuition through your body is probably telling you, hey, you can go now. So being sensitive to the state of our body is really valuable in using our intuition in our everyday life. I also find that developing our sense of self-trust extremely valuable too in developing our intuition, not only in spiritual activities but in our everyday life as well. Because we need, well, what I've found helpful for me is to develop a trust in my intuition. I have to trust my intuition, otherwise I'm not going to believe it, and I'm not going to listen to it, and I'm not going to follow it. So I've had to develop over many years and I can almost say a couple of decades actually, I've had to develop a trust, a rapport with my intuition, that I can trust it, that it's leading me to the right place and the right time, the right person, and that perfect moment. So when I think of trust, I don't tend to think that much about whether I trust someone or not. That's something I decide in the moment based on my experience with the person, whether I think that person is being honest or not, or whatever intuitive thing that I'm connecting with that person. So that's an in the moment thing, whether I trust someone or not. So when I'm talking about trust in regards to our intuition and how to work with that better in our everyday life, I'm talking about how far or how much or how little we trust our intuition. And I really find that a way that's really helped me develop my ability to trust in my intuition has been what I visualize or imagine as a brick wall. And it's like a wall of trust. And it's just personal for me. It's got nothing to do with other people, whether I trust other people or not. That is not in this wall. This is my own, my laptop just decided to turn off. This is my own determination and what I discover from life, whether I trust in my intuition or not. So every time I trust in my intuition and it works out for me, then that's a brick on my trust wall. And this is happening very early on as I was developing my intuition. So every time I had an intuitive feeling or sense and I thought, oh, okay, should I follow that through? And I did follow that through and it paid off for me. It worked out. Things worked out successfully. Then that's a brick on my trust wall. And then every time, especially early on when I didn't trust my intuition and I had that sense and I thought, nah, that can't be right. And I just shrugged it off. I didn't follow it. But then I went through life and I saw something happen and it's like, oh, yeah, I should have trusted that. I was actually right in this situation for me and my intuition. That's another brick I put on my trust wall, because that's showing me that my intuition was correct, even though I might not have followed it at the time. So the more bricks I have up on my trust wall, as it grows and grows, as I go through life and I figure out whether I can trust my intuition or not, it creates a really nice strong wall at this point for me anyway, a couple of decades later. That's allowed me to have 100% trust in my intuition. It doesn't mean I'm always right. I'm not always right for you, and I'm not necessarily always right for myself. But I can trust my intuition. I can trust my intuition for me, that it's leading me down the right path that's right for me. Doesn't mean I'm right for everyone. I encourage you to trust your intuition above you trusting mine. It's up to me to trust my intuition and you to trust your intuition. And that's what leads us to the right place in the right time, where we meet the right people and have those interesting situations at the right time. So how do I develop my senses so I know what I need to do in my everyday life? Just keep practicing, get to know your senses, trust them, build your trust in them, and see what happens. Allow them to guide you with your everyday things that you do and see what happens for you in your life. So that's that. Any other questions here? Bridget says here, I've been literally saved by following my intuition. Yeah. Michelle says, thank you for confirming what I was thinking about our gut. Yes, gut instincts, for sure. So thanks so much for connecting. I trust this has been helpful for you. Thank you for celebrating my 18th birthday, Temple of Balance's 18th, not mine personally, today. And take care of yourself. Let me know if you have other questions about things, not reading things, but I might be able to do videos on them in the future. So take care and happy trusting your intuition and getting to know who you are through your intuition and how it can work for you in your everyday life. Please visit my website, templeofbalance.com.au, if you want to learn more about me and the work I do here at Temple of Balance. Thank you so much. Thank you.